Hello, everybody. This is Scott from ACB, also known as Affordable Computer Building, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make partitions and how to deal with your hard drive, basically, so that you don't need to go through all the pain and suffering of losing all of your stuff. So, basically, if you don't know already, you can have different partitions on your actual hard drive. And that's what all these drives show up as. C drive is one, D drive, E drive, and so on. You can have tons and tons of different ones depending on how many different things you actually want to store on your computer. You can have different categories if you wanted to do that. That's what I usually do. My C drive is used specifically just for storing all of my programs and anything that I've downloaded within the last little while. My games drive is just games, filled with games. I don't put anything else on it. My videos drive is actually going to be getting changed. The name is going to get changed today because it's no longer the videos drive. And my dump drive is pretty much exactly that. It's just where I dump all of my stuff to try to save it for the future. So without further ado, let's uh, let's move on into actually opening up the program. So if you're going to want to partition your drives, you're going to want to open up your control panel, go into your administrative tools, and open up computer management. And inside of computer management, I'm just going to full screen this for a second. There we go. Inside of computer management, we're going to go into our disk management module. And in this part of your tools, you'll notice that all of your partitions up here are listed. Their capacity is listed, their free space, and their percentage of free space, just in case you didn't want to look at the numbers. So for me, I know that my games drive is pretty full. 14% left free. That's it. That's not very much. So down here, down below, you'll see disk 0. That's this disk. Disk 1. And then all of your removable disks will be down below. This can be varied based on how many you actually have put into your computer. But today we're just going to focus on disk 0 and disk 1. And disk 0 is basically my disk for booting up. I know that because it says system reserved. System reserved basically means that that's a partition of your hard drive that you cannot access from the main part of your computer. And inside of that partition is everything that's needed to keep your computer running properly. If anything goes wrong with your computer, then it'll use the system reserved to help with the boot. Okay. Now C drive, all I ever put on my C drive personally is programs that I install. I keep my program files, like I keep my program install files for actually installing the programs elsewhere. They're all kept in my dump drive or kept on disks. But only programs are installed here, and I also keep anything that's in the download file or download folder, and anything that's in any of my other folders that's on there usually gets moved within a week. That's how I've been trying to manage it recently, just to keep it all in the proper place. My games drive is only for games. My video is only, well, it was only for videos. Now it's been changed since that. So that's disk 0. That is my main disk. That's where my computer boots from. Disk 1 for me is my dump, and I also created a new volume. I was doing some testing before the video, so that's the purpose of the new volume. But my dump drive, which has all of my stuff on it, and it's actually doing pretty well for how much space is left on it, so I'm not touching that today. But I also have this new volume, and this is the one that we're going to be concentrating on today, just so I can show you how to make your own volumes in here, so that I can show you how you can actually allocate your space properly. So let's look into how to actually partition your drive next. Okay. So partitioning your drive, you're going to want to have some free space. In the instance of me using all of this, I'd have to go delete volume here. Yes. And see how that deleted my volume? That volume is no longer there. That means that that volume basically just doesn't exist anymore. Now, that volume was empty, and I know that. That's why it was okay to do that. All I did was right-click on it, and I clicked on delete volume. It doesn't come up unless there is a volume on it. Like down here, there's one, delete volume. I'm not going to click that, though, because I don't want to delete that volume, that's for sure. But but that was the purpose of doing it, to get rid of everything that was on a blank volume, and I combine these two spaces. Now, if I want to take in, let's say this 214 or 244.14 gigabytes of unallocated space on this drive, I can't make a drive out of this just because this was already part of a drive, and I haven't done a proper format out of it. I haven't done a few proper things out of it because it needs to be properly unallocated to be allocated. I can extend the volume into this, but I'll be showing you that in a second. To make a new partition for yourself, you're going to want to go into New Simple Volume when you right-click on Unallocated Space. Okay? I already showed you how to delete a volume. I'm going to show you how to shrink a volume in a second so you can have some unallocated space, but first, let's get into the New Simple Volume. So we're going to make a new volume out of our unallocated space. So when we click on this and we go into it, it's going to tell us how much space is free for us, for me rather, at the moment. It's 749 gigabytes. Now, that's not technical gigabytes. That's just what we call a gigabyte in the real world. A technical gigabyte is 1024 megabytes in size. When we talk about a real gigabyte in the real world, when somebody says 1,000 megabytes, that's what they're generally talking about when they talk about a gigabyte. We go up by the thousands, so that's how we've hopped up here. And just so you didn't know, just in case you didn't know, when you have 1,000 gigabytes, that's equivalent to a terabyte. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to click next after we've selected our amount of space to allocate. I want to allocate all of my space. Just know that if you put in 250,000, that would be roughly 240 gigabytes, probably 245. Okay, so that's quite a bit of space. But what we're going to do is we're going to go by what we have available because I want to use all of it. I don't want to leave any of it out. So we just click on next. Now we're going to select our drive, whatever drive letter we want to use. In this case, I'm going to use F. Or actually, you know what? I'm gonna use W, and it'll be for my website because that's an easy way to remember it. Ooh, we missed something there. There we go. Now, when we're in this, sorry, my mouse double clicked, by the way. When we're in this window, we want to format this volume with the following settings. You always want to check NTFS. You don't want to get exFAT. exFAT is not going to do anything for you because if you're in a Windows system, it only utilizes the NTFS properly. You don't get exFAT properly utilized. exFAT is basically it'll do segments that you're allowed to put files into, and the files can't be any bigger than, I believe it's 4 gigs or something. It's not very big, at least not if you're talking gaming standards. So so you want to leave it NTFS. Your volume label is what the volume is actually going to come up as. So I had new volume before, but I'm going to take that out, and I think that we're going to put in website, or actually, let's go affordable computer building. And that'll be our main drive for affordable computer building, because this is, of course, a new website for me, and then it's just a way for me to share my knowledge. I'm going to want some space for it so that I can actually properly store all of my stuff. And I'm going to tell you guys how that can actually save you some space in a few seconds here. But we're going to enable file and folder compression because I don't want files and folders to take up as much space as they possibly could. I'm going to try to cut down on that space and get more onto the drive. So when you click next, it's just going to ask you to basically look through and then click finish. When you click finish, it's going to format the drive. It says formatting. In a few seconds, it's going to pop up. There we go. It says it right away, healthy partition. You get a pop-up up here. It wants to see if you want to open it. I'm just going to close that out. There's no need for me to open that at the moment. So this drive right here now is 732 gigabytes, technical gigabytes in size. And let's say that I've had it for quite a while. If I've had it for quite a while and it's got stuff in it and I want to see how much it has in it, like let's say my dump drive, I'm going to go into my properties. I'm going to right click and go into properties. Or I'm going to look at these numbers up here. And I'm going to see, 316. Well, maybe I don't want to use that amount of space for this drive anymore. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do it with my dump drive because my dump drive is actually important. It holds everything that I actually want to keep. But I will do it with the new one that we just created. So if I don't want to keep the same size, if I want it to be smaller, then what I want to do is I want to shrink the volume, okay? We created a simple volume. Now we just want to shrink it. So we're going to shrink it. It's going to see how much space is actually free, okay? Now I'm going to get ready and I'll just make this into, let's say, 240,000. That's how much I'm going to take off, okay? So I'm not gonna want that on that drive anymore. So when I click shrink, it should create a new drive, 234 technical gigabytes and 498 technical gigabytes. And this leaves more space unallocated. Now this is the trick to actually getting your hard drive to the point where you can have all of your data stored without getting the data off of your computer to begin with. This is how I would do it. That's only if you have free space, okay? If all of this was one drive and you wanted to just put 2 different partitions of that drive in, then what you would do is you'd shrink your drive, and as you shrink it, you'll get the availability of a new partition. You make that new partition. Let's say that I want to extend, though, because a lot of the time when you have a drive, like for example, my games drive, if we go into the properties of this thing, look at how much is left, 62 gigabytes. That's nothing. That's nothing. It's not even, it's enough for another 5 games, not even. And then it'll be completely tapped out, and I'll have no more use for it. Or at least I won't be able to get any more use out of it, right? So instead of doing that, what you can do is you can extend your volume if you have unallocated space. I do. Now this drive, I'll explain a little bit more about this drive in a second so that you guys can get a grasp on another concept of it. But for now, let's just try to extend our volume. So we're going to extend. We're going to click next. Now it'll tell us how much we have available, and currently we have 240,000 megabytes available, which is the 234.38 gigabytes that we have in the unallocated space. So if we just click on next in this window and finish, it'll recombine them for us, and then we'll have that drive size, okay? So that way you can always step back forward towards where you want to be in size if you actually want to have more. It's very useful. Now, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about why this drive is a little bit more special. So basically, this drive right here is 3 terabytes in size, and that creates a little bit of a problem with Windows. Windows doesn't have the ability to just view it as 3 gigabytes in size when it's a regular volume. You need to change it into a dynamic. A dynamic disk, if you were to try to change it into a dynamic disk, you will lose all of your data. So I do not suggest you do it unless you have a second drive and you actually don't mind losing all of your programs off your computer and reinstalling them. I do it all the time. Like I actually reinstall Windows all the time. It helps keep your computer going smoothly. But as is, it's not worth me losing my game drive or my video drive. And I say this because every time that I reinstall Windows, I'm actually not getting rid of any of my game installs, and I'm not getting rid of anything in my video drive. Okay? All I'm getting rid of is I'm just getting rid of what's on the C drive. I completely wipe out my C drive, I wipe out my system reserve, and then I go in and I create a new file system on the partition that the C drive was on. It's very simple, and it helps you amazingly with keeping your computer running fast. Over time, as files build up on your computer, it will actually make your computer slow down, and we're going to go over that in another video with cleaning up your hard drive and actually getting it to work properly for what you need, and getting more speed out of your hard drive. And this is something that'll be important, especially if you have your hard drive for a few years and you haven't done this yet. So you can stop in later on and check out to see if that video is available. But for now, you can just know that there's two different types of drives. You can have your basic setup, or you can have your dynamic setup. Your dynamic setup can utilize more than 2 TB. Uh, your basic setup cannot. So basically, I have 746.52 gigabytes that I can never touch on this drive unless I completely wipe out this drive, install Windows on it again, and then go about everything. It's a little bit of a pain, so that's why I haven't done it yet. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comment section below. I will leave a link to my email address so you guys can send me an email if you'd like to ask any questions. If you want to see a specific video talking about a specific subject, please let me know. I will do it for you if I can, as long as it's within my range of knowledge. But yeah, that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Ciao.